Alright, so far so good. Looks like everything's working. The microphone, I'm seeing myself show up on Twitch. I'm gonna drink some water before I really get started here. Well, Twitch is giving me the unstable signal, but I'm gonna move forward anyway because this is just a test stream at night. Hello, it is I, Visceral Serenity, aka VSDH Development, aka Steven. It's been a minute since I've done a live stream, but I'm hoping to get back into it. I never quite made myself get into the habit, but I would like to get into the habit of regularly live streaming. So what I do here mostly is just casually reviewing websites. I aim to provide a casual, safe environment, just fun, just relaxing, where I look over websites and reflect on my own experience as a developer myself the past 8 or 9 years. Sorry, I can't talk sometimes. And I just kind of reflect on how things are done on a website, things that I think are really cool in a website, if there's anything I think could be done better, and a lesson that can be learned from anything I see on a website. And because I'm such a gamer, I mostly focus on video game websites. If anyone ever tuned into any of my past streams, I talked about like the Super Monkey Ball website and a couple of other websites along those lines. And today will be very similar. I have a Mario website, a Sonic website, and a website for a JRPG called Metaphor that I wanted to go over. I don't plan to be streaming that long today because this is just the first of multiple that I plan to do regularly from now on. So we'll see how far I get. But the overall plan is that I test my websites on kind of a mid-range MacBook Air from a number of years ago. The specific one I use was pre-M chip, so it definitely represents what these days would be, I would say, the lower end of a standard issue computer that the average user would have. So it's far from being a supercomputer or anything like that. And I also test all my websites on an actual iPhone as well. This is an iPhone SE 2, which is slightly old, but is still actively supported by Apple and will be for the next few years. Not to mention there's the SE 3, which is very similar. And I use that kind of as like a lowest common denominator phone to test websites on. Because that's one of the smallest phones that's really popular that you're going to see people using. So, with all of that introduction stuff out of the way, I will switch over to my MacBook Air view. And hold on, I can remove my background. Yep, so I am here in the corner. Hello. And I also have a more or less live view of my keyboard. I've been having technical difficulties making this work well because I'm using like a really, really old iPhone with outdated software for this feed, but I think I got it working well enough. I didn't want to let it stop me from streaming tonight, so it is what it is. I just wanted you guys to be able to see what I'm typing and working on. So as you can see, I have the website, the Mario website, open here, just in Chrome on my MacBook. And I'm basically going to go element by element down the entire page. and maybe through a few of the other pages and test through the functionality. In addition, I intend on looking at how the website smoothly scales from desktop to mobile and everything in between. And to study all of that just from a user experience perspective, maybe test on some bigger phones, maybe test on some smaller phones, and ultimately, more than just rely on the developer view here, I have a live feed of my real hardware iPhone. And that is what I will also largely be testing on kind of as a source of truth. Because in my years of experience, while the simulator can be close, often it's almost exactly the same. There are sometimes differences. So there is an iPhone SE mode in Chrome DevTools by default. And that's often what I test on because I like testing on lowest common denominators, as I call them. Phones that are very popular and very widely adopted, but perhaps on the lowest common denominator end of what the average middle income person might be willing to afford versus the super high end flagship phones. So, with that said, that's basically the gist of my stream. That's basically how I do it. That's basically how I go about it. So, I guess I'm going to get started. And today, I was going to be looking at a few different websites and comparing them. I always like having a first-party Nintendo website because they tend to be very good. Nintendo tends to build very, very good websites from an accessibility and a UX UI perspective. And I always like comparing that with the websites that other companies make and just other websites in general. Not to say that Nintendo websites are always perfect. They're not. No website is perfect. There isn't a such thing as a perfect website. There isn't a such thing as a perfect piece of software. But as websites go, the ones that Nintendo puts out tends to be very polished, especially in the video game space. I also wanted to take a look at the website for Sonic X Shadow Generations that recently came out and share some of my thoughts on this website. As well as another game Sega owned called Metaphor Re Fantasio. That's a big JRPG that recently came out. And I wanted to share my thoughts on this website as well. There we go. It looks like stuff's properly loading in for me now. I am working off my laptop battery right now at the time being. I will probably need to buy another adapter of some kind if I want to have it charging while I'm doing all of this. But this should do for now because this was going to be a shorter stream anyway. So, I wanted to start by looking at the Mario website here. Up front, I really like what I'm seeing. It makes it pretty clear what the website's about straight from this tag, which I imagine is going to be an H1 tag. Let's see. Function F12 will open the dev tool so I can know for sure. Oh, it's actually an H2. I would imagine in that case their logo is their H1. Or maybe this logo is their H1. Oh, either that or maybe they start with an H1. I want to target the official home of. Again, I am using a relatively not high-end computer, so some of the things I'm doing while I'm messing with the dev tools might not be as fast as they would be on a more powerful machine. Nope, actually all of this is an H2. An H2 with two spans inside. That's kind of an interesting approach of going about that. But where is their H1? I am just a little bit curious, just for the heck of it. I'm sure we'll find it in time. In any case, I think this is very beautiful. I absolutely love the animations. And as you scroll down, it just has more Mario. They have a little blog about Mario, the Brothership game that just came out. A few of the other Mario games that are out as of lately. And one key thing that I really wanted to emphasize is the reduced motion button. Oh,
Just followed.
hello there, Baby69. Thank you for following me. I appreciate it. So, one thing I really like is that Nintendo tends to add reduced motion buttons on their websites that have a lot of fancy animations. And this is a very good practice because many people can get overstimulated by looking at a lot of the faster animations, and that can be distracting from the content. And in some cases, users may be viewing the websites on a browser or on a machine that isn't powerful enough to necessarily run all of the animations well. So, like, if there's animations as you go down a page, it is good practice to have something like this where there's a reduced motion option. And that's one reason why I like to compare other websites against Nintendo, because Nintendo will often go the extra mile to add these kind of accessibility features that most other companies don't get around to on their websites. Where you see how Mario popped out there, whereas if I do reduce motion and refresh, there isn't probably going to be an animation. I don't think they're going to do an animation in that situation. Yep, in that case, it's just a simple fade in and it is what it is. Hmm. Did things load too fast for me? I'm going to clear my cache and refresh that. Sorry, Nintendo, for being so hard on your web servers. They have infinite money. They can deal with it. Yep. So with reduced motion unchecked, so full motion enabled on this site, you had those pop-in animations, and as you scroll down, there's going to be a bunch of other stuff going on. Very well thought out. I'm very very fond of the animation work done on this website. It's very creative, very interesting, clearly very well thought out. And I'm going to give a quick scroll down this page with the reduced motion on, just to show the contrast. Yeah, and it looks like with the reduced motion, all that they do is some basic fade-ins that are more likely than not based on some kind of a scroll trigger. And even that looks very pretty. Yeah, and even the slider's a little bit different. when you enable full motion versus having reduced motion. And I'm going to also go through the website on my iPhone, my actual hardware iPhone, not simulated. And I'm going to just kind of play around with it and share any thoughts that come up as I go. So, first off, how do they implement a menu? Pretty standard fare. Kind of like how Mario pops up a little bit from the top. I bet with reduced motion that doesn't happen. Yep, they even accounted for that. I'm going to refresh the page so I get a little bit of a fresh view, and then I'm going to scroll down. Yeah, very vibrant, very pretty. Hmm. Looks like the content in this section's taking a second to load. Perhaps I just have slow internet today. That can happen. I have Comcast as an ISP after all. Either that or maybe there's some kind of trigger that didn't come off. Let me try refreshing the page, but with reduced motion checked on, just because I want to see what was supposed to be there. I might need to give that a second. It looks like my Wi-Fi is just not doing the best tonight. To be fair, I am literally live streaming onto Twitch, but it looks like things are working now. And even still, okay, now that stuff is showing up. I don't know why this section of the website took so long to render for me. What's going on over in that green blue section? Or is there an equivalent section? If I shrink it down to like a mobile size here, that's going to be roughly equivalent. Yeah, I'm actually not completely sure what's going on here. Let me refresh the page again and just see what's going to happen. Because yeah, here's what the iPhone SE looks like on Chrome in the browser. Oh, of course, it would help if I were on the same page. It would help if I were comparing the hold on. going back to the homepage of mario.nintendo.com, not to be confused with the regular nintendo.com. My bad, I was accidentally comparing two different pages. Even still, this section is not loading for me at all on my real hardware. What is going to happen on the simulated iPhone SE through Chrome on my MacBook? Okay, so that's what's supposed to happen. And I'm utilizing Wi-Fi on this MacBook as well. So I'm not totally sure. I'm not hooked up to Ethernet on this MacBook, so I'm not totally sure what the inconsistency is here. Now I'm a little curious. I'm going to test on a different hardware device. I also have an Android phone. And not too terribly high-end one, but it is a Samsung phone. And I am going to go to the website in question and see what happens on a hardware Android phone. All right. Here I am on the very same website on my Android phone here. I don't have a super convenient way to hook it up as well as I have the iPhone hooked up here to display like this, but I'm going to scroll down and let's just see together what's going to happen. Yep, seems to be working fine there. So yeah, no issues on the Android phone. And again, this iPhone SE isn't even old. It's an iPhone SE 2. It's still fully supported and everything. Only thing I could think of is I was using Safari on the iPhone. I'm gonna switch browsers. I'm gonna switch browsers to Chrome. Beautiful animations. That being said, there are quite a lot, so I'm glad that they added the reduce animations button as well. Huh. Even here, even even on the other browser, whatever scroll trigger is in place does not seem to be rendering the items that it's supposed to. On actual hardware, too. I wonder if that changes if I go into landscape. Yeah, they do show up on landscape. Yeah, now they're showing up. I'm going to give that another refresh and turn on the reduced motion. I am inclined to think that this might actually be some kind of an error I have discovered. But it only happens on real hardware, which is one of the reasons why you always test on real hardware. Not to say that they didn't, I'm sure that they did. And it is possible that this is user error as well. That is always a possibility. Because yeah, that's what's supposed to be there in this blue-green section. I don't know why it doesn't show up when I just scroll there normally. So that's interesting. I'm not inclined to look super deep into that right at this moment, but I'm definitely going to note that down for later. Perhaps next week, if the issue is still there, I'll dig a little bit deeper, but for now, I'm going to move on. Yeah. And don't worry, this is caffeine free, so I'm not like I'm not like keeping myself up all night or anything here. So, up front, one of the things I like to do is there's a Chrome add-on that I like. Honestly, I'm going to turn on reduce motion. As pretty as those animations are, even I kind of appreciate having the website be a little bit less distracting. I guess you could say. But there's a Chrome add-on I like called Wave by WebAIM. And what that basically does is it gives recommendations and shows potential errors in accessibility on your website. So in this case, it looks like there's 4 potential errors. I am interested to see exactly what the details are on that. All right, it looks like we have an empty heading. There's an empty button. And there's 2 images that do not have alt text. And for anyone that has viewed a past stream or a past video of mine, you will know the importance of properly adding alt text where need be. Ah, and here's one of the alerts, a missing first level heading. I did notice that a little bit earlier in this stream, where the code here appears to be an H2, and I was a little confused about the H1, and I was waiting until this section for it to kind of tell me where the H1 was, because that was going to be easier than just me trying to hunt through the code and find it myself. But it does appear that this website does not use an H1, which is a little interesting. I mean, usually on a website, you would have the H1 tag as like the first one, and then there'd be an H2 tag, and then there'd be an H3 tag, and so forth, and you would keep it in that order. It does appear that this website does not have an H1 tag at all. At least according to this, and my own looking at the code seems to show the same thing. Well, not a website breaking error, that is definitely something that I would point out if I were to do an accessibility audit on a website. This should be an H1, or what I've seen many sites do is to make one of the logos the H1. Like perhaps the Nintendo logo or the Switch logo would be the H1. I would probably make this the H1. I don't understand why this is an H2 instead of an H1. But beyond that, I didn't notice too many issues. There's no contrast errors, so that's very good from a design perspective. I'm a little confused about the missing alt text. Which images exactly? I am going to turn off everything that isn't one of the things I'm actively looking at right now. All right. Okay, so it looks like one of the images it's looking at is up here, my profile photo, because I am logged into my Nintendo account, which appears to carry over to mario.nintendo.com. Even though it's a different website, it looks like it does connect to the same backend, at least to an extent, to recognize when you're logged in. Visceral is the username I go on Nintendo. Where's the other one? I don't know if I'm seeing where it says the other one is. In any case, I am interested to study the profile picture that apparently doesn't have an alt tag, and to see if I can understand why they went that direction with that particular image and how it renders. So let's go to the dev tools and select that image. This is my profile photo. It looks absolutely nothing like me, but I don't particularly care. So let's see. It claims there is no alt tag at all, which appears to be the case. And that is an accessibility issue. I mean, every image should have an alt tag, even if there isn't alt text in it. It should have the alt tag, because otherwise that can confuse screen readers on what exactly it is. Which we'll see if that's the case here or not. But as a best practice, every image should have an alt tag. And not having an alt tag can actually break a surprising amount of things, far more than you would think it would. In some cases, depending on the element that's being created. I kind of wanted to briefly go over the About page as well, just to see what's up. Well, it looks like we are getting a few contrast errors here. I'm going to hide a few of the ones I'm not interested in looking at right now, just so the page is a little bit less cluttered. Yeah, there seems to be the same two images that have no alt text, and let's see, are they going without an H1 again? It does appear they're going without an H1 tag again. I don't know that this website utilizes H1 tags. Again, not a website breaking issue. Just something I would point out if I were to be doing an official website audit of any kind, that a web page should start with an H1 tag, not an H2 tag. I am interested in the low contrast areas. Okay, I definitely see what it's talking about there. Oftentimes, in the name of accessibility, you'll do things that look really cool, but this definitely doesn't cut it by any standards of of contrast from words to background on a website. Let's see. What am I looking for? What am I looking for exactly? Yeah, I wanted to look at the web content accessibility guidelines for contrast. Yeah, to reach the minimum standard of level AA. You want to have a contrast of at least 4.5 to 1. Unless it's large text, which this is quite large text. So in that case, you'd want it to be 3 to 1. And they have a contrast. Actually, WebAIM has a contrast checker, the same company that makes the add-on that I'm using that adds this stuff to the sidebar. And yeah, they go through some of the rules here too. Actually, I think that they linked to the exact same W3 thing that I was looking at, 1.4.3 contrast minimum. So as nice as this looks, I would probably opt not to design a website with this particular type of contrast. People who are visually impaired in any way, particularly if they're colorblind towards red colors, might not be even able to read that there is a title tag there. I'm not colorblind in any way, so for me, this shows up. But there are people I know, people I'm friends with, who would probably have trouble seeing this. And this is one more aspect I would point out if I were to give any kind of an audit to a design for sure. I definitely agree with the Wave accessibility tool on that. I'm not totally sure what it's pointing at there. Yeah, it looks like all of these ones are pretty much just copies of that element. As nice as it looks, I would not have that red as a foreground with that red as a background the way that they're doing it. And yeah, we already know about the H tag. How about redundant title text? What's that all about? Oftentimes in this tool, things can be a little bit interesting to figure out exactly what it's talking about. It does take a little bit of investigation. So there's something in the footer involving title tags that's redundant. I at least want to see what its explanation was about that. Title attribute text is the same as text or alternative text. Title attribute. So is there a title attribute in the footer? And if so, where? Because that seems to be where it thought that it was. Does it not like this? It must be complaining about this. The title attribute on the A tag. I'm going to say this one's probably not as big of a deal as the other things it pointed out, but we shall see. It looks like it is added for the benefit of a screen reader, which is going to be the next phase of looking at this website anyway. So, for screen readers, that is one of the reasons I'm using a MacBook, is I am very, very fond of the screen reader that MacBooks come with. That is VoiceOver, which is built into the operating system. If you have a MacBook, you have VoiceOver. And what screen readers are good for is for visually impaired people, primarily, so that they can navigate a website, which doesn't necessarily mean completely blind. Oftentimes, people will use websites where maybe they can't quite read all of the text and they need the assistance of a screen reader to help them figure out what a menu says or what some of the smaller text says. In some cases, it can be used by people who are completely blind. That's an option too. Sometimes people just use screen readers because it's a little bit more convenient to have stuff read out for you. There's a myriad of reasons of why people use screen readers, but screen readers are important. When you're building websites, it is essential. It is as essential as responsive design to also account for screen readers. And the one on Mac OS is one of the most popular ones. There are a few others. There's NVDA that works on Windows, as well as JAWS, that are both very popular options. Most of the screen readers work pretty much the same. So in this situation, I'm only ever really going to be testing with Mac OS VoiceOver. But it is a feature that is often not given the attention that it deserves, considering the importance that it has for many people who use the internet. So let's take a look at how this website fares with VoiceOver. And I'm going to turn on VoiceOver by doing Command and F5.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen and can be used to control the computer using only your keyboard. If you already know how to use VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Chrome, the official home of Super Mario trademark. Home, Google Chrome, window, has keyboard focus. You are currently on a group, inside of web content accessibility, page controls, banner. You are currently in a banner.
Right, so by default, when you turn on the screen reader initially, it's basically just going to read off a lot of details on the website until you do anything. The primary way to move around with macOS VoiceOver is that there's a thing called the VO key, which is slightly configurable. It can either be the caps lock key, or it can be a combo of control and option. I tend to prefer control and option myself. That is a personal preference. So you have the ability to change that. And if you hold that down,
visited link Nintendo Home.
You can use left and right arrows to go through various elements on the site.
Navigation. Nintendo account settings and notifications button. End of navigation. You are end of banner. You are page controls navigation. You are currently in a navigate reduced motion selected toggle button. You are currently.
Yep, and for things like this, you can press space bar to be the equivalent of a click.
Selected. Main site navigation. Navigation. You are list 5 items. You are currently in a list. Current page. Visited. Link. Home. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Ctrl, Option, Space. Visited. Link. Mario History. 3 of 5. You are currently on a link. Visited. Link. Characters. 4 of 5. Visited. Link. News. You are currently end of list. You are currently end of main site navigation. Navigation. Link. Image. Nintendo Switch. You are currently on a link. End of page controls. Navigation. Banner. You are currently in a banner. Heading level 2. 2 items. Official home of level 1. Mario. Level 1. You are currently on a heading level 2.
Yeah, so it definitely doesn't cause an issue. It's just a little odd that there is no H1s used on this website, as far as I can tell. It's not causing an issue explicitly, but literally, I would just change the H2 to be H1 with the exact same styling, and that would fix that.
If you're a Mario fan, or even if you've just found out about him today, you've come to the right place. Learn everything there is to know about that multi-talented, mustached Marvel, and check out the latest news, videos, and more. You are visited link Meet Mario. You are end of banner. You are currently on main. You are currently in a main. Heading level 2. Play with Mario and friends on Nintendo Switch. You are current the Nintendo Switch Latin capital letter T with Latin capital letter M with link. Learn more. You are currently on a link to heading level 2. Mario in the news. You are currently list 3 items. Link heading level 2. November 8th. 2024 limit time mission celebrating Mario and Luigi. Authorship set sail for Super Mario Run. Visited link heading level 2. November 7th. 2024 set sail for Advent. Visited link heading level 2. November 6th. 2024
right.
End of list.
So far so good.
You are current visited link see more news. You are currently button group. You are currently on a button group. To click this button, press Ctrl Option Space.
I'm going to do that real quickly, but then probably close the video very quickly as well, because I don't want to get copyright struck by the Nintendo ninjas that they tend to have in their legal department. Okay, so that clearly works. I'm just going to move on.
Mute. 1 0. Captions. End of. Video player. Region. Heading level 2. Mario and Luigi trademark. Authorship. You are currently on a heading level 2. Set sail with Mario and Luigi on an island hopping adventure. Visited. Heading level 2. Mario on Nintendo Switch. You are.
Because yeah, there's the appropriate place for a header level 2. The semantic problem with having a header level 2 at the hero section of the website, which is what that top section is called, is that's the very introduction of the website, and that's supposed to be an H1. And the subsections like this are supposed to be an H2. And the subsections of each subsection is supposed to be an H3. And it's supposed to go like that. That is proper semantic HTML. And while it doesn't strictly break anything, it does violate best practices when proper H tags aren't followed the way that they should be. That would be my main comment on that.
List 6 items. You are visited link. Super Mario Party Latin capital visited link. Mario and Luigi trademark. Authorship set sail with Mario and Luigi visited link. Super Mario Party Latin capital letter T with Latin capital letter M with variation selector 16 Jamboree. Join a Jamboree jam packed with more minigames than any Mario. Visited link. Mario and Luigi trademark. Authorship set sail with Mario and Luigi on an island hopping adventure.
I do find it interesting that sometimes it says trademark and sometimes it literally says what the characters are.
Click this link. Press Control.
After I'm done with the screen reader, I kind of want to quickly take a peek into why that might be. It's just kind of interesting.
Link. Princess Peach trademark. Showtime. Link. Luigi's Mansion trademark 2 HD explore multiple. Link. Super Mario Bros trademark Wonder the Link. Mario Kart trademark 8 Deluxe race with Mario and friends anytime. End of list. You are link. More games. Learn all about Mario's many adventures through the years. You are visited. Link. See the timeline. From ravishing royalty to visited. Link. Meet the characters. You visit Mario's page at Play Nintendo. Link. Image. Find Mario themed apparel. Image. You are currently on an image. To begin interacting with the contents of this image, press Control, Option, Shift.
So this particular title is an image. If I were visually impaired, I might have been a little bit confused about that because the image is text, and it should have an ARIA label that describes what the text is, or an alt tag specifically. And the alt tag should literally say Nintendo Store. That is a small error that I would also point out if I were to be giving a casual audit of this website.
Find Mario-themed apparel, toys, and more at the Nintendo Store. You are link. Start shopping. End of main. Footer. You are currently in a footer. Link. Customer support. Follow Nintendo. Link. Image. Facebook logo. Link. Image. Twitter logo. Nintendo Twitter. You are currently on a link. To click this link.
It looks like they've never updated to the X branding either.
Link. Image. YouTube logo. Link. Image. Instagram logo. Link. Image. ESRB. E10. ESRB ratings guide. Link. Image. ESRB privacy certified. Link. Privacy policy. Link. Terms of use. You are currently cookie preferences button. You are currently on a button. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space. Link. Interest-based ads. You are currently on a link. Game trademarks and copyrights are link. Cookie preferences button.
Interesting that that's a button and not a link.
Functional cookies on switch. Cookie functional cookies. Functional cookies.
Okay, very nice. Pop-ups are a complicated thing with screen readers. But it looks like that they properly adjust focus when you're on the pop-up. And pressing escape made it go away. So, perfect implementation of a pop-up. I have to give Nintendo credit for that.
Link. Interest-based ads. You are game trade star end of footer. Navigated to the official home of Super Mario. Navigated to the official home of Super Mario trademark. Home. Keyboard brightness dimmer. You are currently on a selectable text inside of web content. To exit this web area, press Control, Option, Shift, up arrow.
All right.
Voiceover off.
That's enough voiceover for now. I came across no substantial issues, but there are a couple of areas of interest I would like to look at. For one, this TM seems to be different from the other TMs, and I'm curious as to exactly why. So let's open up our dev console and take a little look. Hmm. And how about the trademark here? Because yeah, there the trademark is literally just there, and it is there too, as one singular character. So I guess the screen reader just wanted to be slightly strange. Um, Screen readers will do that sometimes. And the other thing I wanted to take a quick look at, yeah, was that Nintendo Store title. Okay, so it's actually an SVG and not a standard image. And yeah, my screen reader did not understand what that was. So I would advise to adjust this SVG so that a screen reader would properly read off Nintendo Store, and then that would fix that. But beyond that, this website is pretty pristine. I really don't have any issues with it. I am curious, is the fade-in issue still happening on my iPhone? I just want to look at it again. Because if it is, I might have a comment on that. Having built very similar animations upon a scroll trigger in the past, I might have a best practice comment depending on how they're going about this. Yeah, so I guess what I'll say there, because I guess for context, what is supposed to happen, and it'll be apparent on this section on the MacBook version, is that there is I imagine some kind of a scroll trigger, like a point on the screen that JavaScript detects will pass by a certain element, and when it does so, the element shows up. The issue is, though, is that in this situation, that never happens. I don't know what kind of a bug exactly is causing that. But as a general best practice, and a lot of animation libraries work this way, is that instead of having the element not exist up front and then show up, the way it'll work is that the element exists up front anyway and checks for a few things to be true. That JavaScript is enabled, that the scroll trigger is working properly, just to do a few various tests and checks, and then to make the item disappear. So that way, in situations like this, where the scroll trigger appears to simply not be working in this section, the items would still show up. They wouldn't show up as elegantly or as nice, but it would be a form of graceful degradation. I believe the proper term is. As for what exactly this issue is, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to revisit this website next stream, and if the issue is still happening, I'm going to spend a decent chunk of time digging into that. It does appear that my MacBook battery is getting slightly low. I'm going to need to figure out solution for that next time to be charging while I'm streaming. But as mentioned, I did want to compare this website to a few other websites. Namely, hold on. I might be having a little bit of lag here. Yeah, I'm seeing my camera not fully line up with what's going on on my screen. But that's why this is a test stream. I just have stuff to work out. It'll probably be a shorter stream tonight for that reason. I just want to wait to see if stuff eventually catches up and my terrible ISP can properly allow me to live stream. Well, in any case, my audio might not match up with my video completely, but there was one thing I wanted to look at, and that is the website for Metaphor ReFantasio, which I'll give a quick refresh here. So up front, I think this is a very beautiful website. It has its own interesting animations that come in as you go. But there are a few criticisms I have of this website that I would like to contrast with the Nintendo website. And I'm intending to have a shorter stream at this point tonight anyway. Hold on, I'm going to see if I could fix the camera. Hmm. Technical issues. I'm going to hide my me view for now. But yeah, I think a few points I want to make on this website compared to the Nintendo one is that the Nintendo websites, as I mentioned, have a reduce motion button. That all of this stuff is very pretty and very nice, but at the end of the day, not completely essential. And in many cases, you'll want to reduce motion to make it a little bit lighter on weaker computers like this one. Unfortunately, you do not have that option here. Me personally, I do find the like triangle fragments that are going across the screen, and while very pretty, they are a little bit distracting. And I noticed no option to turn that off. And I really wish that there were. And as you can see, this website is having a bit of a tricky time rendering on my MacBook here. You might notice my CPU and GPU use going quite high, especially as I'm getting near these auto-playing videos, which is another practice I'm not terribly fond of. For bandwidth reasons, as well as, again, for performance reasons. A simple reduce motion button like on the Nintendo site would be a pretty quick fix for that. Yeah, and the website's even having trouble rendering these sections. I really like this element a lot. I'm very fond of elements that work like this, and I've seen elements that follow this pattern quite a lot. And there was actually a very similar element on the Super Monkey Ball website that was really cool. That worked almost exactly the same way as this, where you kind of click on a character profile, and they have a big picture and like artwork, and then some details about the character. And I am interested, just quickly. I'm probably not going to do a screen reader on this site quite yet, but I do want to go over it with Wave to see what it has to say about the site. Hmm. It looks like there's a lot of images that don't have alt text at all. It doesn't seem to like the contrast on that Buy Now button. Is that white on white supposed to be that way? It's almost hard to tell because I don't know if my computer is rendering this website quite right. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it through the mic or not, but the fans on this poor MacBook are starting to go a little haywire too. There is often quite a cost to having a beautiful website. You know what? I guess just for the heck of it, I'm going to attempt to do this with a screen reader as well and see what happens. I hope my computer doesn't explode.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen and can be used to control the computer using only your.
All right, so I've got my VO button combination.
VoiceOver on application. Metaphor.
There we go.
Google Chrome. Window. Metaphor. 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 Refantasio. Metaphor. 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 Refantasio. Web content. Link. Image.
Okay, now I'm properly in the site.
List 5 items. Link. Heading level 4. Game. Heading level 3. Unlabeled image. Heading link. Heading level 4.
Interesting that they use H4 tags for the upper menu.
Unlabeled. Heading link. Heading level. List 5 items. Link. Heading level 4. Games. 1 of 5. Heading level 3. Featured. You are currently on a heading level 3. Unlabeled image. Pre-order bonus. You are currently on unlabeled image. Unlabeled image. Slash feature.
And it might
_0
right now be going over content that is off screen, which is another reason.
Option.
I guess I would say it's a very common thing to miss with screen readers, is that if there's content that's meant to be visible to the user, that's when it should be visible to the screen reader. Whereas if content is invisible to a user, it shouldn't exist to the screen reader either. And it does appear to be
play now. You are currently on a select
looking at content that is not currently visible to the user, which is an accessibility issue.
Unlabeled image. Unlabeled image. Slash feature expansion. Unlabeled. Play now. Visited. Pre-order. Heading. Link. 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 Link.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what this is looking at.
Unlabeled image. Unlabeled. Heading. Link. Sonic's. Link.
Yeah, and my laptop does not like this website. Let's see how much longer it even lasts here.
Link. 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 And navigate. Link. Link. Image. List 5 items. Link. Heading level.
All right, here we are on the site proper.
Heading level. Link. Heading. Link. End of list. Link. Heading level. Heading level 4. English. US. Globe. Image. Link. English. UK. You are currently on. Link.
Yeah, and it seems like this menu always exists on the side even before it's called
Francais.
to exist.
Link.
I'm not going to say this is broken,
Link. Link.
but it is a little bit unexpected that the menu is coming up for the screen reader, even though I didn't purposefully open this menu.
End of navigation. Banner. Art of metaphor. Refantasio. Logo. Unlabeled image. You are currently.
This should not be an unlabeled image. They should definitely add a proper alt tag there.
Link. Heading level 2. Buy now. Heading level 2. October 11th, 2000. Metaphor. Refantasio. Heading level 2. Brought to you by the Empty Group. Persona 3. Empty Group. Brought to you by the creators of Empty Group, Persona 3, Persona 4, and Persona 5. You are currently on a text element. Heading level 3. Director. Katsuhiro Hoshino. Heading Shijinori. Heading Shoji Meguro. Xbox Series. Windows. PlayStation 5 vertical line. PlayStation 4 logo. Image. Steam logo. Image.
Those images are all correctly labeled.
End of banner. Main. Heading level 1. Previous slide. Next slide. 1 of 14. Next. Previous slide. Heading level 1. Previous slide. Dimmed button. Next slide button. You are. Previous slide button. Next slide. 1 of 14. End of. 2 of 14. End of. 1 of. Next. Previous slide. Next slide. Previous slide. Next slide. 4 of 14. Slide.
Okay, the slider is actually working okay.
Link, comma, watch.
How about if I try to watch one of these? Is that going to work?
Close. Dialog. Close. Dialog. You are currently on a group inside of web content.
Yes, it does.
In this group.
I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I won't actually play it.
5 of 14.
But kind of like the principle I was saying before.
Currently on a link.
If it's not visible to the user, it shouldn't be visible to the screen reader. And in this case, this slider is actually excellent. A very common issue I come across with sliders is that the screen reader will essentially see all of them. Will essentially see all of them even when it's not really supposed to. Because they don't exist yet technically. Like they exist in the code, but as far as the user is concerned, from a user experience perspective, they don't. And that should stand equally true for a screen reader as it does for a sighted user. In this situation, it looks like this slider is an example of doing that correctly, where these 3 slides are what exist, and it's not going to show the other ones until they're called upon by pressing the next or previous buttons. So I do approve of this. This is a very well-built slider, and the pop-up works really well too.
End of. 6 of 4. Link. End of. 6. Heading level 1. This is a story. In the midst of this, they will discover that. In the midst of this, our story takes place in the United Kingdom of Uchronia, where in the midst of this, they will discover that in order to achieve their heading level 1 features.
I might be getting a low battery warning here.
Media. SRAD rating, teen.
Yeah, the auto-playing videos, my computer is immediately getting louder as it's using up more resources on my machine just by being forced to watch these videos with no way to turn them off. Again, having a simple reduce motion button would literally go miles on making this issue better.
Ride your gauntlet runner to faraway dunks. Unable to play media. SRAD rating, teen. An exhilarating. Unable to play media.
One more element I want to look at. I'm going to close the screen reader as soon as I look at this characters element.
Link. Group 3 of 5. You are currently on a group. You are currently on a heading level 2. Together with the fairy, Gallica. Heading level 2. Protagonist. End of list. Group. You are currently on a group. Link, comma. Index HTML. Link, comma.
Alright, so I click on that person.
You are currently on a group. Heading level 2. Hulk. A knight of the Rausaint tribe and former member of the royal. Heading level 2. Hulk. End of list. Group. Link, comma. Index H. Link, comma. Link, comma. Link, comma. Link, group. You are currently on a group. To interact with items in this heading level 2, STROHL. You are currently. He is a young man of the Clemmer tribe who meets the protagonist. Heading level 2. End of list. Energy saver turned on. This extends battery power by limiting background activity and visual effects like smooth scrolling.
All right, well, it looks like I'm pretty much done tonight.
Chrome window. Voiceover off.
So far, so good. I wasn't easily able to access this last character here. Other than that, I thought this element was fantastic on an accessibility standpoint as well, in addition to usability. I like this element quite a lot. So, with that said, that is probably going to conclude the website portion of today's stream. And I wanted to go through the Sonic X Shadow website as well, because this is a very interesting website, that I think I'm going to have a lot of thoughts on as well. I really, really like this functionality, and I'm interested in how it's going to turn out from an accessibility perspective. But that is not for tonight. For tonight, I am going to return away from the MacBook, to the just me view. Hello, this is what I look like again. And I will return my background. Alright, so I've been going a little more than an hour. Usually I would stream more than an hour. Today was mostly a test stream. My laptop battery didn't last quite as long as I thought it was going to, so I'm going to need to figure out a solution to charging my laptop while I have all of this going, because it only has 2 ports, both of which are being used for things that are not charging. I do have an adapter that I use, like an adapter you plug in that can do multiple things. I think they call it a dongle. I'm probably going to figure out how to integrate that into my setup for the next stream so I can go for a few hours longer. But for right now, I'm going to call it a day. This was the first stream getting back into streaming after a few months. At least at one point I had a viewer, so thanks for watching, viewer who was viewing earlier. I greatly appreciate it. Lurking is very much encouraged. This is a safe space for everybody. Safe and comfortable and relaxing. That's what I go for. And yeah, I intend on streaming, ideally at least once a week. Ideally for longer than 1 hour. This is somewhat of a special case, where I'm going to be going a little shorter than usual. And hopefully I'll have a couple of fewer technical issues. This is an unfortunately difficult stream to do, I guess you could say. It's not the easiest stream to make happen, but it's a stream I've wanted to do for a little while, and it's working well enough, and I'm very glad that I didn't let the technical issues stop me from at least doing an initial testing stream right now. So that's going to be it for the time being. And I will hopefully see everybody again in the near future. Bye-bye.